Hello, and welcome to today's edition of Route 664, Road to Human Kindness. I'm Les Winston, I'm the host, and I am also the chairman and president of the Endow America Network Foundation, where we are building a network of meaningful information sections that you can use to create your own endowment. We believe that an endowed America is the best America. It's a better America than an indebted America. That's what our objective is to become an endowed America instead of indebted. And that means changing from being 35 trillion in debt to having 35 trillion in endowment held by nonprofit organizations all over the country in their individual communities. And it's paid for by you, the taxpayer. If you're an informed taxpayer, you can change your tax dollars into charitable dollars and benefit from that exchange. It's a kind of alchemy that the government gave us in 1969 when they created sections of the tax code. One of the sections is 664, and that's one of the sections that you'll see prominently on our website at endowamerica.com. We want people to know what 664 is all about. It's a way for you to exchange your tax dollars for income, lower taxes, and tax deductions, while also providing for your community later in your existence. When you're no longer here receiving money in the form of income, you'll be leaving it behind to the community, for the community to use in an endowment that helps everybody. If we can fund every hospital, every school, every care center with endowment that allows it to function without having to raise money, that would be a beautiful thing. If you ask any nonprofit organization today what their objective is, it would be to have an endowment that supports them and they don't have to worry about raising money. And that's a really big problem for most nonprofit organizations. Unfortunately, the government has stepped in many instances in providing money from our tax dollars to support nonprofit organizations, which is kind of an oxymoron. The government should not be supporting non-governmental organizations. It should be supporting the things that are necessary for government to support, and that's not one of them. That's why they created this section in the code, to build the charitable wealth in the country so that we wouldn't have the government so involved. And that will help us reduce our national debt. Believe it or not, this is a pretty big project. If we can change the finances of the country to one where we have endowed communities, and that endowment is easy to do because you're paying less tax. It's really a very comfortable thing for people to do. It's not like charitable giving where you give away something to charity and never see it again. You can give to charity in a way that allows you to get income back from your gift, and most people don't know that that exists. And that's what this is all about. We want you to learn about that. We've created an academy. This Discovery 664 Academy is a place where you can go to learn about how 664, how social security, how all these things fit into your life, especially under certain circumstances. We're entering into the tax planning phase of the year following Labor Day. That's a time when you need to plan to reduce your tax next year. You can't reduce your tax for 2024 once 2024 is passed. You have to do it in advance. You have to do it before the end of December. And you need to do that with good, sound information and usable, user-friendly courses that we've put onto the Academy website. It is all online. You can take these courses. Each one is about 12 minutes, and they deal with various things. They deal with how to sell appreciated stock, how to sell real estate, how to how to take your C corporation. If you have retained earnings in your C corporation, you're trying to figure a way to get them out without paying tax. If you want to reduce your taxes because you've earned too much this year and you would like to change your bracket, every time you put some tax deductions into your tax return, you have an opportunity to reduce your bracket. And those brackets are going up each time you reach a new level of earnings. So if you can bring those brackets down, that saves you a lot. You can go from a 32% bracket to a 22% bracket. That's a 10% savings in tax, but you have to reduce your overall income. How do you do that? Well, there are some ways that you can do it with qualified plans. With an IRA, you can put some money into an IRA, and that will help you, but not much. You can use a SEP IRA, that if you're a sole proprietor, you can do that with a lot more, but it still isn't enough to generally reduce your bracket. And charitable giving using charitable devices allows you to do unlimited amounts. And the beauty of it is you can do it with non-cash assets. Our objective is to get you to be confident over your money. In our confidence pyramid, we talk about confidence over money and then confidence over your time and your relationships. And you get to your spirituality. When all that is accomplished, then finally you get to your genius. And at your genius, you love to do what you're doing 24 hours a day, never get tired of it. That would be ideal for everybody if you could do what you love to do and do it for the rest of your life and never have to worry about money. That would be a function of genius. My guest to join me now is Emily Rassam. And Emily also sounds like she works at her genius. She loves what she does, a financial planner who does organizing. Good morning, Emily. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Good, good. So I love the fact that you love what you do. Tell me why.
Yeah. So I absolutely love working with clients and helping them just understand. So there's an educational element to helping somebody with their money, with everything in their life with a dollar sign next to it,
Mhm.
and helping them understand kind of why do they spend and save the way that they do? What are their values that are associated with the money that they earn and the money that they spend? What is the purpose of money in their life? So what is the purpose surrounding the money that they are earning and kind of growing and utilizing in their lifetime? And so a lot of the different planning strategies, I do everything from estate planning, tax planning, including charitable giving strategies, education planning, retirement planning, debt reduction, cash flow, all those different areas. If you can just optimize a few different areas a little bit over time, every single year can make massive impacts on their overall taxes that they pay in their lifetime and how that money flows to their beneficiaries and chosen charities. So I think
Mhm.
it's fun. I think it's interesting. I think everybody's different. Everybody has an interesting story. And being able to help and guide people through the really kind of crazy maze that it is, kind of navigating through their tax life and their financial life and all the decisions that they have to make is a true joy.
They come to you with a mess and
Usually it's
then
a
you
mess.
organize it. Is that what
I love
happens?
it. Yeah. So, that's one thing I like to think about that people love TV shows like Home Edit or Marie Kondo, where what they do is they take this messy pantry, right, with all these
Mhm.
different things and they kind of take everything out and they put it in these neat little containers that make sense and they're labeled and they put everything back. A financial plan is that as well. So it's understanding what you have, where to put it, and just kind of understanding how they all fit together too, to kind of then come out and make a recipe, or what's the purpose of having these ingredients in my pantry. There's a lot of relief in having that process done, and I can tell when a client has gone through the entire onboarding and planning process that that was a lot of work, but it feels really good because I've got this neat organized plan
So you do that online or you do that in person?
online. So we're 100% virtual. Every client we have is virtual.
Interesting. So you get people to be willing to share their information like that online. I would imagine you have some encryption, you have some protection for them, right? You're dealing with their finances that in that detail. Do you think most people are informed about taxes?
Not at all.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's confusing, but I think sometimes people just have this like mental block around taxes. I'm kind of like that with technology. If you opened up a computer and started
Mhm.
to show me all the parts, you could probably teach me what they all do, but I just feel like that's so overwhelming, I can't even learn it. And so I think when people look at their tax return or look at the tax code and look at all the components, they just decide, yep, not going to learn that. I think there's a block to it, and it's not overly complex if you kind of figure out what's relevant to you and what are some of the potential strategies. When you break that down for somebody and help them understand their return and understand some of the opportunities and just some of the little bit of support every single year, that some planning can provide, and the reduction in kind of their overall taxes in their lifetime.
Well, most people, I think, they rely heavily on their accountants or they rely on heavily on their tax preparer. But my philosophy with regard to tax preparers is it kind of they help you pay the government. They're not necessarily there to help you avoid paying the government. And you're not duty bound to pay the most the law extracts. You have the right and privilege to reduce your taxes as much as legally possible. And
Mhm.
most people don't even know that that exists. They just, especially people, do you find people who have W-2 income, they don't even pay attention to their tax?
Yeah, they're not paying attention to it. And CPAs really, there's a CPA shortage, and they're really clients are dumping data at them in February, March, and they're getting their tax return prepared, but they're really not sitting down and doing planning. And so you're right, you're saying we're about to enter that season in September. I did tax planning meetings every day this week so far and last week, so we're kind of starting
Mhm.
early. But
Good for you.
there's opportunity. It's just taking a look at all the different components and ideas and what is important to them, what they're valuing, what their preferences are, what their strategy is, and then just kind of identifying what are the opportunities for this year and what are the ongoing opportunities. So if you kind of look at a collection of strategies over a long period of time.
How does politics play into this? We're listening to, not, I don't want to get political, but we're listening to proposals that they want to tax unrealized gain. This is a thought process. What do you think about something like that?
Yeah, there throughout every single year of my career, I've heard different rumors and headlines and all of that. And it's sometimes we kind of have to settle clients down a little bit about that and just talk about exactly what's right in front of us. What do we know, or what can we potentially predict might happen, and what might we want to think about doing if something kind of comes to fruition. And so there's things we do know, like the TCJA sunset, and what do we know about
Wait. TCJ.
TCJA, so Tax Cuts and Jobs Act sunset, so that the
Okay. So
basically,
people know because TC, sometimes we use these like Kretz and Kratz and Grats and Grits and all that stuff, and it's a little bit confusing. So TCJ, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. So in 2017, we were given kind of our current tax law that we're running on right now that expires at the end of 2025. So
Mhm.
we receive these tax cuts and our breaks basically in our tax brackets. And when that potentially expires or sunsets in 2025, whoever's elected president has the ability to extend that, or typically put in new tax law, or just let that expire. And we'll go back to former tax brackets and estate tax limits and in different kind of components of that. So what we do know, and we kind of map things out, tax planning software allows us to see what do we expect your brackets to look like in 2024 and 2025 and 2026. And if things remain similar, what do we expect your deductions to look like? What do we expect the opportunities to potentially be? So
Mhm.
we look at what's right in front of us. Certainly, if a client has this very specific worry that they want to potentially map out or address, I have a whole meeting type. I haven't considered a new name for it. Maybe I need to come up with one. We internally we just call it our oh shit meeting of what happens if, and
Okay.
it could be anything. So we ask
Yeah.
clients, what are you worried about? So what are the things that you are most worried about happening potentially? And some of that can be, especially kind of coming into an election, some of it could be what might be proposed. What headlines am I seeing? Am I worried about dying? Am I worrying about becoming disabled? What are all the things I worry about? So we do provide a format for, well, if that happens, if we're going to tax unrealized gains, if we're going to see some
Mhm.
other major changes to the tax code, or getting rid of the long-term capital gains preferred tax rates, if those things are going to potentially change, we can potentially run that out and say, here's what happens if that comes to fruition.
And then what do you do? You're showing. I mean, today actually I was working with someone who has a very significant stock portfolio, and they want to change from where they are. They're getting more and more jittery every day because they're not sure what's going to happen, and they want to move into like municipal bonds. They want to change the structure. So, but they also have to deal with some of these things they've made profit on. They got appreciated stock. What are they going to do with that? To pay tax on it, and that tax is sometimes worse than the loss. So how do you deal with that? What do you do with appreciated stock? Just that if
Yeah.
somebody has that situation.
Yeah, great question. Just dealt with this in a meeting yesterday. We gather preferences from all our clients and an understanding of how and when do you plan to use this money. So it
Mhm.
doesn't matter if you've appreciated stock, if it's just going to sit in your account when you pass, and you're going to pass that with a step up in basis onto your beneficiaries. But the meeting I had was with a client. They're 78 and 75 years old with a lot of
Mhm.
appreciated stock. and they're giving cash to charities every year in a major way. They've
Mhm.
never given appreciated securities. They've never used a vehicle like a donor advised fund or an endowment. And so now, they had somebody who just helped them with investments, and now they're working with a full comprehensive financial planner who's evaluating each piece of their life. And so there's opportunity now to potentially start to give some of the appreciated stock, or look at things like qualified charitable distributions, which is giving money out of their IRA if they've
Mhm.
reached age 70 and a half or older. So those are things that we evaluate and understand, what are we trying to accomplish here? So how much are we giving now versus over your lifetime? Both of them were educators, so they're giving back to their universities and schools and other kind of charities that they have collected along the way that they like to give to. And so what are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to give? And are we trying to really kind of give the bulk of your estate? Are we trying to give along the way? So it's really trying to understand what all of those possibilities are, and then educate them on what are the different avenues that we can potentially support you on this. So is it just giving appreciated stock as kind of one level, or is it kind of having a bigger, longer term giving strategy that potentially can provide some income to them and give their estate at the end, kind of avoiding some of
Yeah,
that.
so that was a good point that I wanted to raise. When you want them to get income from that, what do you use?
So typically we're going to evaluate any of the charitable, so the CRATs or CRUTs, so remainder annuities or unit trusts. We're going to look at those. I have looked at so the annuity type of products that are out there as well, but typically we're going to use
Mhm.
more of a trust-based structure for them.
Mhm. Have you used a pooled income fund?
I have not used a pooled income fund.
Okay.
So tell me more about it.
Well, you need to come to our academy.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're trying to teach people about pooled income funds. They don't know what these things are, and they're so powerful. It's just incredible. They were more powerful in the past when interest rates were lower, but they're still very, very powerful even yet. They do create a fairly sizable tax deduction even at younger ages, and most people don't know these things exist. And they have to be done through a charity, but they're a little bit more involved than setting up a child remainder trust because well, they're not involved. They're not more involved. Actually, child remainder trusts are more involved because you have to actually form a trust that you're going to deal with. But
right.
with the pooled income fund, the trust is formed by a charitable organization like Endow America. Our organization, Endow America Network Foundation, creates pooled income funds for people to use to support their charities, but also to provide them with income during their lifetime. And they're very interesting. Happy to teach you more about it and spread the knowledge because I think it's a really valuable tool.
Mhm.
And you get to manage the money inside the pooled income fund, so you never lose control over it. And I know that's one of the things that a lot of the financial representatives are concerned about. Am I giving it? Are you giving it to charity and then I never control it? The donor advised fund has been created for that. The donor advised funds have grown as much as they have because the financial advisors have been taught how to get somebody to contribute their stock to a donor advised fund, and they
Mhm.
still get to manage the money and so on. But this is the same thing, and the pooled income fund is very similar, except that it gives income back to the donor
Mhm.
for their lifetime or for other people's lifetime if they want to leave it beyond that. Very, very, very powerful. Sorry to go astray there, but I think it's important that we, as part of the financial community, which we are, in essence, as the Endow American Network Foundation, we want to educate more advisors about how this works. In fact, we've created a new certification program, which is endowment engineers. An endowment engineer knows how to create endowment for the individual, and then that endowment can be passed on to the community when they pass on. And that's pretty valuable. Most people don't know that the bargain that the government gave us was you give to charity when you die and you have lower taxes while you're alive. That's a really, really good storyline. And when you can get income and benefit by not having to pay capital gains tax and also get a tax deduction,
Mhm.
that really is a powerful tool because taxes are really a big part of everybody's burden. We're going to take a short commercial break. My guest is Emily Rassam, and Emily is a financial organizer. She loves what she does. She wants to give people the opportunity to get all their mess in one place and understand what it really means. So we'll be right back.
Our protagonist, Jack, was a 65-year-old retiree who'd always been known for his offbeat sense of humor and love for numbers. He'd been searching for a way to support his community while securing his retirement income. One day, while browsing through the depths of the internet, Jack stumbled upon an article about Tax Code 664 and its potential benefits for charitable planning.
Hello, welcome to today's edition of Route 664, the road to you and kindness.
Curious and excited, Jack decided to delve further into this mysterious code. He spent hours poring over tax law books and articles until he became a self-proclaimed expert on the subject. He'd tell his friends, "Who needs Sudoku when you've got tax codes to crack?" Armed with his newfound knowledge, Jack approached his financial advisor, Martha, and shared his idea of utilizing Tax Code 664 to set up a charitable trust. He was convinced that this strategy would benefit not only his retirement, but also his beloved community, particularly the revitalization of the local park. With a twinkle in her eye, Martha acknowledged Jack's enthusiasm and praised his resourcefulness. Together, they devised a plan to establish a charitable trust that provided Jack with a stable retirement income and directed the remaining funds towards renovating the park. Word of Jack's innovative approach spread like wildfire, inspiring others in the community to explore the potential of Tax Code 664. Soon, more and more people began implementing charitable planning strategies to support various community projects, ranging from building a new animal shelter to establishing a local art center. As Jack took his daily strolls through the newly renovated park, he couldn't help but smile. His Tax Code 664 adventure had not only secured his retirement, but also transformed the community in more ways than he could have ever imagined. With a wink and a grin, Jack would often say, "Looks like the joke's on boring retirement plans." Who knew tax codes could be so much fun? Who? Remember, your financial journey can be both impactful and entertaining when you explore the potential of charitable planning with Tax Code 664. Visit endowamerica.com. With the right knowledge and guidance, anyone can turn their dreams into a reality. Leave a lasting legacy that benefits generations to come. endowamerica.com. Plan, prosper, pass on. The power of 664.
And we're back. My guest is Emily Rassam, and Emily is a financial planner who loves what she does, working at her genius. Emily, I know there's a lot of things that you do that are unique. Are you dealing primarily with female-led households? Is that your specialty area?
Yeah. So a lot of the clients that come to us have a female in the relationship who is either responsible for their financial organization or plays a big role in it. The families that come to me that has more of a male lead is typically somebody who cares a lot about their partner and wants them to be taken care of and wants them to be involved in the relationship, because there are a lot of steps in my financial planning process that are include kind of the values and viewpoints of both people. So we do goals and values intake with them. We take a good amount of time to understand really what's important to them and really what they'd like to do with money. So how they'd like to utilize money in their lifetime, but how to use money to maximize their lifetime's happiness, pay the least amount of taxes possible along the lifetime, but also to pass their money along in the most efficient manner to their beneficiaries.
Yeah, their personal succession plan in a sense as to what they're going to do with their assets. Do you look at wealth or do you look at income? Do you look at, I know growing wealth is great, but wealth doesn't necessarily generate income.
Yeah.
How do you make that point? I know a lot of people they accumulate. I have a guy, he owns a complete section of land. It's undeveloped, and he's got no income because there's nothing on it. So it's a lot of value, tremendous estate value, but it doesn't really produce any income. How do you get that point across?
Yeah, so we build a financial plan for everybody. So we're plugging in all of their data points into a software that's going to then plot out the distribution, so income for their lifetime. So they can understand, what is my net worth and what does my balance sheet look like? So what is my wealth situation? But what is my spendable money over my lifetime and where does that come from? So how much of that money is kind of guaranteed or going to be coming in regularly, how much of that is going to be distributions off of assets that I own, or business or rental property or consulting income or W-2 wages. How much of that is going to come from all of the different kind of variables. And then we run that out and then test it across a lot of different kind of conditions. So we're taking a look at how does that income kind of vary or perform throughout your lifetime, and what are the guardrails around it. So if your assets grow or if your income streams grow, how much more can you spend? Or if the value of your assets drops, what does that potentially look like? Is there going to be a spending reduction or income reduction later on in retirement? So we help them kind of map that all out and see how it's lumpy. So most people don't spend the exact same amount of money every single year, even adjusted for inflation. There's purchases and time periods where you spend a lot more or less. And so
they probably have kids.
yeah. So, it's
Yeah.
dynamic. And so there's not really any kind of straight line calculation that anyone can run that can really help somebody understand what their income needs are going to be, because their expenses are going to vary every single year. So we plot out all those possibilities and allow them to see kind of how does their income perform over time? How, what's the probability of success of their assets kind of carrying them through that entire time frame? And how do we account for having enough for the long run for everything that they need, while being able to kind of enjoy their money today and utilize it appropriately?
Well, you're telling them to do a lot of things, and you're getting a lot of information from them. I'm sure that, how long is it? The relationship that you're building, I'm sure they're long-term relationships, but when you're starting with somebody, what time frame, what kind of a time element is involved in your actually getting to know the client?
Yeah. So our process is 6 meetings basically to get them onboarded. So onboard them, bring in their investments, understand their goals and values, to do goals and values meeting, and then data gathering, and then delivering their plan and helping them implement those recommendations. So we help carry them through. And then from there, there's all different types of kind of maintenance or ongoing themes that we talk about every single year about their annualized tax plan and long-term tax plan, or other needs that they might have, or life events, certainly investment reviews and other pieces like that too. So we don't have any specific cadence moving forward after initial plan delivery. It's an as needed basis with at least check-ins every 6 months with our clients.
And you're a trusted advisor because they're going to ask you things that you may not even expect them to ask you about, right?
All the time. I actually love it. I love this profession. I've been doing it for 18 years. I love getting stumped. I love learning something new. I feel like I learn something new every single day. And, it just came from, I started out in this industry doing education meetings in a 401k plan setting. So for the first decade of my career, I met with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. I actually calculated recently probably 25,000 individual meetings, and people would just come in cold for a one-on-one session, and they could ask how to enroll in their 401k plan, or they could ask about something much more complex and big. So I'd go back home and research and learn and get back to them. And I learned this profession just by receiving a million questions. Some of them I didn't know the answer to immediately, but I learned and got back to them and got better and learned enough to then be able to really start to work on higher level strategy over a longer period of time.
Well, the thing about that is that everybody knew what a 401k was. You didn't have to go explain to them why they should think about it. We're trying to do that with 664. It's just another number in the tax code, but most people don't know it exists. So 664 is what we focus on. Those are the charitable devices. And we've come to the end of our interview, Emily. I'm glad that you had the time to spend with us this morning on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. And we hope you will become, join the Academy. And you may never know what you may learn there. There's a lot of things that we're teaching advisors. We want to create more endowment engineers and certify you so that you can actually utilize all of the parts to the tax code that most people are not aware of, and that help them in their actual creation of income, reducing their taxes, and also helping charity. We also have a lot of other functions on our network. We have our radio station, which is Route664.org radio, and you can hear these interviews replayed on that station. We also invite you to join the Academy and learn how to utilize the devices that can help you save your taxes, increase your income, and help you become able to work at your genius at some point in the future. Thank you again, Emily, for joining us on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. That's the show for today, folks. See you again next week.